So much happened at the Garden of Gethsemane. We're going to spend 3 days on the same passage. I hope you will read this passage in its entirety all 3 days. There's a lot to cover here. We're going to focus today on the denial of the disciples. There's a message of grace here that's nearly indescribable. So, if you need a word of hope, today's lesson is for you. Tomorrow, we will look at Jesus as he prayed in the garden. And in the next lesson, we will cover the betrayal and the arrest of Jesus. All of these things happened in the same place. Let me show it to you. Jesus and the disciples had their Passover meal inside the city, probably in the area known as Mount Zion. They left the upper room late in the evening. Typically, a Passover meal takes a long time. It's the most important meal of the year under normal circumstances, but these were no normal circumstances. And we know from John's gospel that Jesus talked with his disciples for a long time after the meal. So perhaps it was between 10 and 11 p.m. when they left the city, crossed the Kidron Valley, and entered a garden. Now remember, even as the evening had begun, Jesus had told his disciples that he knew a betrayer was in the group. This upset the disciples so much, they seemed to not even notice that Judas had excused himself and that he never returned. Perhaps that's because Jesus never let up. You will all fall away, Jesus told them. When Simon Peter insisted that he would rather die than betray Jesus, Jesus told them that before the sun rose that very morning, he would deny Jesus 3 times. Simon Peter reiterated his conviction he would never do such a thing. But as you probably know, the only thing louder than his denials on Friday morning were the sounds of a rooster crowing. When they reached the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus asked his disciples to pray. He took Peter, James, and John with him to a secluded spot. He asked them to keep watch and to keep praying. Instead, they all fell asleep. You know, that's actually understandable. It was somewhere around midnight, and they had just eaten a heavy meal, complete with 4 cups of wine. Now, in the garden, it was quiet. It was dark. And people tend to pray with their eyes closed. It's a perfect formula for falling asleep. Clearly, none of them had comprehended the danger Jesus was in or the danger they were in. When Jesus cried out that Judas and an armed group had arrived, the 11 disciples sprang to their feet, tried to find their wits, but in a matter of moments, the first one ran away. Then the others ran away. The disciples ran until they were out of breath. Because of the lay of the land, there's no doubt that wherever they stopped, they were still able to watch from a distance as Jesus was arrested and taken back into the city. In a matter of hours, Jesus was unfairly tried, convicted, and crucified. From a biblical perspective, this is the darkest day in the history of the world. And as far as we know, of all the disciples, only John came to the cross. So where were the others? What happened to the promises of devotion? Why was Judas the only one who took his life? Can you imagine the despair and the shame? Well, perhaps you can. Most of us have had our moments, or our days, or nights, or entire seasons when we've acted like disciples who suddenly can't remember that they ever made a promise to follow Jesus. Most of us can relate to the shame of knowing we've sinned greatly. We know that we've fallen far short of God's glory. The shame of that realization hasn't lessened in the past 2,000 years, and it can leave you feeling as if you don't deserve God's grace. The truth is, we don't deserve it. Grace is a gift. It's ours for the taking. What I want you to do is pay attention to Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's there that he prayed. And yes, our focus is usually drawn to his personal struggle and the way he submitted to the will of the Father. But take another look. Jesus also prayed for his disciples. He prayed for them as if they were faithful followers, as if they had not betrayed him. To Simon Peter, the loudest betrayer of the night, there was also a promise earlier in the evening. Simon would be sifted as wheat by Satan, but Jesus also promised that the man he had named Peter, which means rock, would return to lead his brothers. Simon Peter would recover from his worst mistake. After the resurrection, Jesus came to his disciples and greeted them as friends, not as enemies. 2 weeks later, he reinstated Simon Peter and the others who were with him after recreating their original call to ministry. The only thing more miraculous in that second catch of fish at the Sea of Galilee was the grace Jesus poured out on all of them. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus did not simply pray for those who were running away like cowards at night. He prayed for all of us who would struggle in the generations to come. This is good news, for Jesus has not run out of grace for disciples who have run out on him. Sin hurts us. Sometimes sin destroys us. Sin hurts our relationship with the people around us, and it hurts our relationship with God. But keep your eyes on Jesus and learn this lesson well. Your sin has not disqualified you from getting back up, repenting, recommitting to follow, and discovering that Jesus still loves you.